Alrighty, give me 1 second, guys. We're going to wait for some more people to come in. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday evening here. We're going to talk to you guys about the ICE potential coming up as we get towards a Monday time frame, and I'm going to be answering questions. For those that are going to come in immediately asking questions or trying to spam the comments with your questions, you're going to have to be patient, hold your horses. I've got a lot of information I got to go over like usual, and then we'll get to your questions here. So we're just going to wait for a little bit longer for some people to come in. If you guys can do me a favor, let's get this out. I know this is not snow, this is ice this go around, but this could potentially be a pretty significant ice event for us here across Arkansas. So be sure to do that for me. By the way, I'm Cameron, not Derek. Let me see here. I think we've got a good crowd tonight. Like I mentioned before, if you know anyone that needs this information, especially across Western Arkansas, feel free to share this live stream with them. Hope you guys are hearing me loud and clear, by the way, as well. So we've got about 400 people here that can go ahead and get started at this point here. Okay, so we do have that winter storm watch that's going to go for northwestern Arkansas. That's going to go until 6 p.m. on Monday. This is mainly going to be for the potential of ice here. So this is going to be a freezing rain to a pretty much a cold rain situation. But the big question is, when do you switch over to rainfall? How much freezing rain we're going to get? And we're going to talk to you guys about other components in the forecast here, guys. So, like I said, we got a good crowd here. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you end up missing this live stream, you can always rewind this on Facebook or on YouTube at this current time here, okay? So, let's talk about this. This is going to be your winter weather outlook across the board here. And I want to talk to you guys about this setup here, because what's going on is you have a warm front coming into the state. That's warm air going over the Arctic here that we have in place right now. So that's going to lead to primarily freezing rain. This is not going to be sleet. This is not going to be a snow event. This is going to be primarily freezing rain. And I told you guys with the last winter storm that I hate freezing rain, because freezing rain is the most dangerous winter precipitation type that you can get, because it causes power outages, the roadways will just become a mess, and it causes a lot of damage with the trees and stuff here. So not a big fan of freezing rain here, but unfortunately that's the card that we've got at this point. So I want to target Fayetteville, Harrison, Jasper, Russellville, down to Daisy, over to Mena, into the Fort Smith area. Over there in northwestern Arkansas, it is very, very important that you get ready for this potential ice event here, because we could potentially talk about totals getting close to that quarter inch area, maybe as high as a half an inch of ice could be possible here, and there could be some isolated areas that may approach an inch of ice here over here in western Arkansas. So this is a pretty dangerous situation that we're kind of getting ourselves set up for in terms of the heavy freezing rain potential over there in western Arkansas. For those that are further to the east, from Mount Holm to Little Rock to Arkadelphia down to Texarkana, I've had a lot of questions about, is this going to impact central Arkansas or eastern Arkansas, etc. Right now, that is probably the most uncertain area, because it depends on the timing on when this is going to come in. If this comes in later in the afternoon on Monday, temperatures are probably going to be above freezing, and we'll probably just deal with a cold rain. That's it. But if it comes in first thing Monday morning, while temperatures are still below freezing, then you have that potential of seeing freezing rain across the area here. So basically along I-30 up to that 167 corridor points west and northwest here. Eastern Arkansas, as it stands right now, you're primarily going to be a cold rain here, because of the fact that the timing is going to be a little bit later in the afternoon on Monday into Monday night, and that's where you're going to get the potential of a cold rain over there, because your temperatures are going to be above freezing. For everybody, as we get to Monday night into Tuesday, this should transition over to a cold rain for every single person across Arkansas. So this is primarily going to be a Monday morning going into the early afternoon hours, and then we'll have to watch and wait and see how much damage we have over there in western and northwestern Arkansas. So I've got a lot of people that are tuning in trying to figure out timing. When is this going to come in? Who's it going to impact, etc. Eastern Arkansas, like I mentioned before, right now, I'm not expecting any kind of frozen precipitation over there, because you're just going to be too warm. And you're asking yourself, how in the world is Eastern Arkansas going to be too warm, but Western Arkansas is going to have the ice potential? Well, your disturbance is coming out from the west, and the moisture is going to move into western and northwestern Arkansas first, and then it will start to override the dry air that's in place across eastern Arkansas. But by then, it's so late in the afternoon, your temperatures are well above freezing here. So just keep that in mind. Now, if this comes in a lot earlier than expected, then eastern Arkansas could easily get into the ice potential with this here. So southwestern Arkansas, we're going to go from 3 a.m. Sunday night. So I'm going to make this clear. This is not for tonight. This is not for tomorrow. This is for late tomorrow night going into Monday morning here. Let me make that clear right now, because I'm probably seeing comments about is this going to impact us tonight? What do we need to do? This is tomorrow night through Monday morning here. Let me make that clear. So southwestern Arkansas, 3 a.m. tomorrow night going into 9 a.m. Monday morning here. That's going to impact schools. It's going to impact Monday morning commute. We're going to have all the details that you need to know over the next 24 hours in terms of school closings, in terms of road conditions, all that good stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. Across west central Arkansas, along I-40 from Fort Smith to Waldron, over to the Metro, to Conway, to Searcy, up to the Clinton area. We're going to go for 6 a.m. to noon right now across the board. That's the time frame that we're looking at. But I'm going to make this clear. This is a first look ice timing map. That means that this is going to change over the next 12 to 24 hours here once we get a better idea on who's going to see the worst of the ice, how fast we're going to transition over, etc. here. So that's what we're looking at right now, is that 6 a.m. to noon time from across west central Arkansas going into the metro. But along that line, like I mentioned before, I've got a lot of questions in terms of when it's exactly going to get here, what are temperatures going to look like, etc. here. But we'll answer those questions over the next 24 hours. And then in northern Arkansas to northwestern Arkansas, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday, and that is very, very subject to change, because the further north and west that you go, the longer it's going to take for the warm air to get up there and finally get you above freezing. There are also concerns that you don't get above freezing. If that happens, then you could potentially talk about a pretty significant ice storm for our folks in western, northwestern Arkansas. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of uncertainty going into the Monday time frame here. But a couple of things I want to stress right now. I-49 is always a mess whenever we're dealing with any kind of winter weather. It's going to be even worse when you're dealing with freezing rain, because freezing rain is just primary ice. There's no snowpack to kind of keep the roads a little bit travel-wise. You're not going to have sleet. This is straight up freezing rain, which means it's going to put ice on the roads, and it's going to pretty much be an ice rink across I-49, across the elevated surfaces, etc. So if you're planning on traveling Monday morning, what I would recommend is checking the school closings, checking the road conditions and stuff like that, because freezing rain is a lot tougher to drive on than snow and sleet at this point here. Okay, so what we'll do for just a little bit, since I got this timing map up, I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we're going to get into it at this point here. So I'm going to make this clear to everyone right now. Beth, no, you're not going to see anything in Monticello. This is very, very important, because we deal with this with every winter weather, severe weather event, etc. You got to pay attention to where you are on the map, guys. Okay, it's not only for us, it's also for your own safety, for your own knowledge, because like I said before, Monticello, you're not seeing anything. This is primarily western and northwestern Arkansas. You guys over there are going to be a cold rain. Now, if things change, if things come in a little earlier than expected, then we'll see. But you got to know where you are on this map, guys. It's very, very important, especially when you're dealing with freezing rain and ice. Because if you're dealing with it, then you're going to have to plan for school closures, travel, all that other stuff. So make sure you know where you are at this point here, okay? So what are we looking at? After the front comes through, temperatures are going to warm up. We're finally going to get into the 60s and across the area. We're finally going to get out of this Arctic hammer that's in place. That's what's going on here. This is probably going to be one of our last winter weather events until we get into, I'd say sometime in February. But this is probably going to be it for a little bit, because temperatures going to start warming up. We're going to start talking about regular rain, potential a few thunderstorms, all that other good stuff. So we're going into our January thaw once this has cleared through across the area here, okay? So, Luke, thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate it. I saw that error. I saw it's supposed to be 9 a.m., but something happened with that here. I appreciate you for hinting at that at this point, okay? So, let me see here. Do we have to worry about any severe weather issues? No. No severe weather. This is primarily going to be steady rainfall that's going to come into the state as we get into Monday night into Tuesday. No severe weather concerns. What we're mainly worried about right now is western Arkansas and the ice potential here, guys. So, like Luke mentioned before, the timing's off. It's 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. Instead of 9 p.m. I don't know why it came up as 9 p.m., but that was on my end, guys. So, yeah, the system's not coming in until early Monday morning. Is Saline County in it? Yes, Saline County's in it, guys. Everything is perfectly fine on the map here. It's broken down into different sections, so that way everyone kind of see where the timing is, okay? So, yes, it's 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. across the board here, okay? So, how soon do you think this will clear out? I work till 4 on Monday in Franklin County. Can I beat it Monday morning? Monday morning is going to be tough. You're going to have ice coming in. The roadways, some roadways, by the way, especially on the back roads, still have snow on them. So you're going to be adding ice on top of the snow that we got last week. This is probably the longest time we've had 3 inches of snow on the ground, guys. It's pretty insane. But you're going to have to worry about that. So the back roads are going to be a mess. The main roads, especially with the freezing rain, you're going to have those troubles. So keep that in mind as we get into Monday morning here. Now, we get into Monday afternoon. Hopefully temperatures are warmed up, and hopefully we're just talking about a cold rain across the state here. But that's something that we're going to have to monitor, because with Arctic air, what happens with Arctic air is it's tough to get out. It takes a long period of time to kind of erode, and that draws out more of the freezing rain potential before you go over the cold rain. But by the time we get into Monday night into Tuesday, everybody, all 75 counties should all be a steady rainfall across the board. We're going to talk about that too, because we have a flooding threat to talk about as we get into this upcoming week as well here, okay? But I want to make this clear. Guys, this is not going to be a severe weather outbreak by any stretch of the matter. This is just going to be a regular cold rain. That's it. That's all it's going to be. It's not going to be any severe weather across our board here, okay? So, what about lows next week? Like I mentioned before, temperatures are going to start warming up. We're going to get out of this Arctic blast. We're going to get away from the cold and snow. We're going to go back to the 50s and 60s for highs, overnight lows in the 40s. We're going to get back to how we normally are this time of the year, instead of having to deal with the snow and cold and all of that. So we're going back to how we are across the board here. So, good question, Rachel. We're going to talk about that coming up in a little bit. The winds as we get towards Monday, probably 15 to 25 miles per hour. That's going to worsen the ice potential across western Arkansas, and I wouldn't be shocked by the time we get to probably this time tomorrow night, we're probably going to be talking about ice storm warnings across western Arkansas and northwestern Arkansas. So that's a really good question across the board here, okay? So let me see here. Just going over questions. Like I said, it's very, very important that you know where you are on the map, guys. It's not that we're not mentioning anyone or anything like that. It's very important that you know where you are on the map here, okay? So this is a preliminary freezing rain total across the board. I want to stress that this is going to change a lot over the next 24 hours here. So across central Arkansas, like I mentioned before, if you guys are not seeing any precipitation until 2 o'clock, it's going to be a cold rain. For those that are in Saline County, along I-30, along Highway 167, those areas are going to be questionable, because we have to see when we transition over to rainfall, or we're going to go straight to rainfall. There's some questions about that as well. I think northwestern Arkansas is the primary target for freezing rain right now, but we're going to monitor those to the east. But I want awareness to be up across Fayetteville, the higher elevations of western Arkansas, down to southwestern Arkansas. I want you guys to be paying attention to this. We're not forecasting for just central Arkansas here. We forecast for the entire state of Arkansas. So keep that in mind for areas along Interstate 40, along Interstate 49, going to northwestern Arkansas, the higher elevations. That is where you're going to see the ice potential kind of maximize over there in western Arkansas, because they're going to take advantage of the Monday morning time frame over there. And like I mentioned before, I'm not confident of going higher than 1/4 of an inch of ice over there right now. But I can see a couple of areas, probably from Fayetteville to Jasper down to Fort Smith, on the Ouachitas. I can see some areas approaching a 1/2 inch of ice over there in western Arkansas, which will be a crippling ice storm for our folks over there. So tomorrow, what I want you guys to do, I know some roadways are not 100%, and I know a lot of people are still trying to get out from this previous winter storm. But I want you guys to be prepared for this ice event, okay? Kind of take a look at your house, the surroundings. If you have any tree limbs that are kind of a little low on some areas, Try to arrange to get those cut down. Just kind of pay attention to your surroundings as we get towards tomorrow here. If you need to make a quick grocery store run, that's fine. This is not going to be a prolonged event. I think it's just going to be from Monday morning into Monday afternoon. And then what's going to happen Monday night, once the warmer air is fully back in the state, we should transition over to cold rain, and then the ice that accumulates should start to melt off, and by Tuesday we're good to go. So this is not going to be how it was with the previous winter storm, where everyone was in the house for 4+ days, and the roads were just a mess and all that. This is going to be a Monday morning into the afternoon kind of hazard time frame. That's where you're going to have that potential. And then we get into Monday night into Tuesday, once the rain really starts to settle in, that is where you're going to start to melt everything off, and then we should be good to go across the board here. Yeah, Beth, this is very important. You got to know where your counties are. We stress this with every big event here in Arkansas. You have to know where your counties are. It's about as important as forecasting at this point. You got to know where your counties are. That's going to answer a lot of your questions. If you know where your counties are and you know where you live, it's going to answer a lot of the questions on the graphics, guys. I promise you. Okay, so Walmart's out already of eggs and bottled water. I'm not surprised because they're still trying to come back from this previous winter storm here. So I'm actually surprised they even have that to begin with, because it's just been that way over the last couple of days here. So temperatures do get above freezing after this. Correct, Jessica. Yes, temperatures will get above freezing as we get towards Tuesday and the much of next week here, guys. We're gonna put an end to all this snow and cold and all the roadways being a mess. We're going to put an end to that by the time we get into the middle part of next week. But we've got to get past Monday. Monday is the moisture's coming in as the cold air is leaving out. That's where you're getting the freezing rain potential across the area here, guys. Okay, so like I said, very, very important for my folks in western Arkansas. You got to know about this situation here, okay? Like I mentioned before, we are not Central Arkansas weather watchers. We're not. I love you guys to death in Central Arkansas, but we cover the entire state of Arkansas at this point, okay? Western Arkansas, northwestern Arkansas needs the coverage just as bad as central and eastern and southern Arkansas. So it's very, very important that you get this out so that way those in western Arkansas aren't caught off guard Monday morning, because that's the worst thing to ever happen is you get caught off guard with freezing rain. Snow, a little bit manageable, but freezing rain, you're talking a completely different beast. You want to be prepared for freezing rain coming in instead of being caught off guard and not even knowing about it until you hit the roadways, and then you know what happens after that. So it's very, very important that you know about this ice potential coming in at this point. Okay, so good question. Traveling from western into central Arkansas, is this going to be a late start situation or may miss a day of work here? Ruth, I'm very worried. I want to know what time you're leaving Monday morning. When is the exact time you're leaving? Because I can better answer your question from there. Because if you're leaving like first thing Monday morning, you're going to encounter a lot of the iced over roadways over here. And keep in mind, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of roadways, especially the back roads, that still have snow on them. I want to make this clear. I want you guys to take a look at the bottom right corner of your screen where you see that travel impacts. Do you notice how Sunday is still low? Most of your main roadways are clear, but your back roads still have snow on them. The ones that were able to get the shade, those are the ones that still have the snow on them, the snow and the ice from this previous event we just got through dealing with. So if you're planning on traveling on any back roads, extra caution as we get towards Monday morning, because you're not only dealing with freezing rain, but you're going to be dealing with the overall snow that will probably still be in place by the time we get into Monday here. So very, very good question, Ruth. Across the board here, okay? So let me see here. Let me see here. I'm going over there at this point. Okay, so Monday about 7:30. 7:30 in the morning here. I would recommend not traveling by then because you're going to have moisture coming in, freezing rain going across the area. If you're going to wait that long, I would wait till probably Monday evening into Tuesday before you start traveling, because by the time 7:30 comes in, that's where you're going to have those issues. Let's go back to our timing map. Mina, we're going to start you off at 3 o'clock in the morning. So 7:30, the moisture's already here, freezing rain is going to be in place, and that's where you're going to have the ice potential across the area here. Okay, so yeah, you've got to know your counties, guys. You have to know where your counties are and your cities. As soon as this live stream's over, we're going to post a county map on the page. because it's very, very important, and it's starting to concern me a little bit because a lot of people are coming in. They don't know where the interstates are. They don't know where the counties are in Arkansas. And I understand if you just moved here, but if you've been here for a while, you've got to know where you are. You have to know where you are. It's not only for us, it's for the weather. You have to know where you are because you don't know if you're on ice or you are in the all clear. So it's very important that you've got to know where your counties are at this point here, okay? So there's the accumulations. This is the travel impacts as well. I want to talk to you guys about this. The reason why I've kept Central Arkansas and the lone I-30 in the low is a combination of two things. Number one, the back roads. They're still a mess. And then two, even a little bit of freezing rain, the roads are going to be just chilly. I mean, just bone cold across the board. You're going to have temperatures, road temperatures, probably in the upper 20s, near freezing. Anything that accumulates on the roadways is probably going to stick for a while until we get the warmer air and the rainfall to kind of melt everything away. So those that are planning and traveling on I-30, similar to what happened the other morning where we had all the accidents and all of that, take it easy on the roadways, guys, okay? I understand the need to get out and go. Take it easy on the roadways. You don't need to go 100 miles per hour to get somewhere. You can go 30 miles per hour and still be there. Even if you're a little late, I'd rather for you guys be a little late than for you guys to have all these accidents and, it's a potential that, you get hurt and all that. I don't want that for you guys. I want you guys to make it to wherever you got to go safely. You don't have to go 100 miles per hour all day, all the time. So if you're planning on traveling on I-30, you're planning on traveling on 40 or on Interstate 49, keep that in the back of your mind. You don't have to go 100 miles per hour. You can get away with going at the low speeds because you're going to have that ice on the roadways as we get into Monday morning. But if you don't have to travel Monday, I wouldn't recommend it. Tuesday, you'll be fine because the rain will be here. All your snow and ice will start to melt away because of the warmer temperatures. But Monday, everyone's going to try to get out. They're going to try to go. It's not going to end well. So if you don't have to go anywhere Monday morning, stay at home. Let the rain come in, melt all that stuff away. Probably as early as Monday night, I think you're going to be good to go. But that's just something I want to stress right now here, okay? So let me see here. Yeah, so Scott, that's a good question here. One of my guys, get rid of that comment. I'm not dealing with trolls on here. Very good comment about models pushing away cold air, and that's also one of my concerns. Because let's say if models are overdoing the warm air, then what happens is you set yourself up for the potential of crippling ice across the area, especially across northwestern Arkansas, possibly making its way into central and eastern Arkansas here. I do believe, let me see if I can get this up. I think the Canadian model is the one that's trying to hint at that. We can show you guys that real quickly here. But yeah, Scott, that's a very, very, very big concern of mine going into this event here. We can actually show you guys that. So let's go over to the computer model data here. Should be coming up here in just a second. Just give me just one little bit. Let's see if we can get this up. And it's going to be right here. Okay, so it's going to come up here in just a second. There we go. All right, so this is the Canadian model, kind of addressing Scott's comment. What the Canadian model is wanting to do, it's wanting to drag this out all the way until Monday night. Now, if that happens, then you're talking about pretty much a significant ice event for the majority of the state. Fortunately, right now, it's the only model that's throwing that out. The GFS, the Euro, the NAM, all the other models right now are saying mainly western and northwestern Arkansas, higher elevations, and that's it. But the Canadian model, similar to what happened in 2022 and in 2021, is a consistent trend right now. So if all the model data starts to break and trend more towards this, then yeah, I can see impacts further east. But right now, we'll just have to wait and see. But that's a really, 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 really good comment. Models do tend to push that colder air out faster than what originally happens. And if that happens, then we could potentially talk about a much bigger event here. But we'll get more into that coming up here in just a little bit. So speaking of potential bigger event, I want to talk to you guys about this ice damage threat. This is from my friends at H8 Plumbing. I want to talk to you guys about this across western Arkansas. So right now, I haven't upgraded you guys to a 3 yet. Basically, you have an entire scale. It goes from 1 to 5. You guys saw this back, I think, a year ago, back in February, where we had that ice event across the area. Basically, 1, that just means that, you have some impacts. You have to be careful. Not really expecting too much in the way of impacts, but, just watch out. You start getting into 2, and especially 3, 4, and also up into 5. That's where you start talking about significant impacts in terms of power outages, tree limb damage, roadway starts to become a mess. And you guys know by the time you get into 5, you're not even going to be traveling at that point. I do believe once you get to 5, you actually start recommending evacuations here. But fortunately for us, we're not at that level yet. But I do see us getting to probably as high as 3. If the Canadian model would have its way, you start approaching 4. So in western Arkansas, like I mentioned before, first thing Monday morning, if you don't have to go anywhere, stay at home. Just stay at home, ride it out. By the time we get into Monday night into Tuesday, I promise you guys we're going to be good to go across the year here. Okay, so Misty, great question. This is from Central Arkansas at 12:45. Right now, I think you're going to be good. We're going to see what happens in Central Arkansas at this point. How many people do I have in Western Arkansas right now on this live stream? I'm very curious about that. Because Central Arkansas right now, it's a big question. Because if this comes in later, you guys are going to transition over a cold rain. You won't see any ice at all. So you guys, as always, has that big question mark across the board. That's why I have you guys at a 1. Because impacts right now could go either way. You either increase because of an earlier timing, or you go to the other side where it's just cold rain and you're not having to deal with anything at all across the board here. Okay, so looking at from the Conway, from Mayflower to the Conway area, we're going to see, like I mentioned before, right there in Central Arkansas, it's very, very questionable right now. I wish I had better answers for you guys, but it's very questionable right now in Central Arkansas because we have to see when does the moisture come in, how warm you're going to be. If you're at 34 here in Little Rock, it's going to be a cold rain. But if you're at 31 or at 30, then you're talking freezing rain potential across the year here. Okay, so Rachel, I saw Mark's comment as well. Let me see if I can go back over to Mark's comment if it didn't get buried. Mark, you may have to re-comment that because I saw your question. It was a really good one. But I'll answer Rachel's one because she has a good one as well. What are the chances of the Canadian model becoming in play? Right now, it's the lone model. It's by itself, which is what we call an outlier. Basically meaning it has like a, let's go, 1 out of 10 chance of verifying out of the other models right now. It's not, with every model data, you don't want to go 100%. We learned that lesson with the last winter storm. But right now, I would consider it an outlier because it's the most aggressive with the ice. However, I'm going to throw a little disclaimer. The Canadian model does pretty good with Arctic air. I've talked about this 2 years ago when we had that ice event here across much of Arkansas where the Canadian model was throwing the ice storm potential, but the Euro, the GFS, all the other models were just saying no, and it ended up verifying. The Canadian model ended up winning. So it does do a pretty good job with the Arctic air. My problem is you're going to have a constant feed of warm air coming into the state. This is not a system where the Arctic air is going to remain in place. It's going to leave out. So at some point, you are going to switch over to cold rain. That's just inevitable at this point. I mean, it's going to happen. The question is, when does that happen? Because the longer it takes to switch over to cold rain, the longer you're going to have freezing rain and the bigger problems you're going to have. Because freezing rain is just, no one likes freezing rain. If you like freezing rain, you're weird. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I want to stress. When do we transition over to cold rain? That will be the biggest question as we get into that Monday time frame. Is it a quick transition over to rain, or is it a prolonged transition over to rain? And like Scott mentioned before, models typically like to get the cold air out here pretty quick. But I want to throw a little caution. If it does not happen, the cold air sticks around for a little longer, you could potentially go from what we're looking at a minor event to pretty much a significant ice storm across the area. And we're going to stay on top of it and let you guys know on that situation as we get closer in the time here, okay? So let me see here. Let me see here. So as we get into Johnson County, you guys over there. So right now, I do believe you'll have a good amount of ice over there. Let's go back over to our accumulation map here. So you guys, you would see almost about, I think this accumulation map right now is just kind of a first look. I'm pretty certain I'm going to have to increase these totals, especially across western Arkansas, as we get into tomorrow and into that Monday time frame. So right now, I would bet on probably near 1/4 of an inch of ice. It just depends on when do we switch over, guys? That's the number one question that I'm trying to answer, and you guys are trying to get an answer for. When do we switch over to cold rain? That will determine, are we dealing with a minor ice storm where it's just a little bit of impacts and that's it? Or are we dealing with more of a significant one with cold rain coming in behind it, which is going to make it tough for any power crews, any tree companies, and stuff like that coming in here. Chandler, thank you so much for that. Yeah, about the HRR, I see what it's trying to do in the higher elevations. I'm just worried if it's too warm, because the HRR, let's be honest here, with that last winter storm, it didn't do too well. I mean, it had a trace of snow across central and southern Arkansas. Well, southern Arkansas verified, but central didn't. Central, you had almost 3 to 4 inches of snow. So I'm treading lightly with the HRR right now here, but I can see what it's trying to do in the higher elevations here. So thank you, Chandler, for giving me that information here. Okay, so let me see here. Going over everything right now. Is this going to potentially reach the Camden area down there? I think you guys are probably going to be a cold rain. We're going to see. We're going to see. The biggest question, like I said, everyone's trying to come in, ask the specifics. My number one answer to everybody right now that's trying to answer the questions in terms of the cities and the counties, number one thing I want to stress right now is, when do we transition over to cold rain? That's going to determine on how big this event is going to be. If we transition over to cold rain quick, we're done. We're done. We're done with Arctic air. We're done with the snow. We're done with the ice. We're done with that for at least a couple of weeks. We're done with that. We're going into a January thaw. It's going to start warming up. So we're done. But if it takes longer to transition over, that's when you're going to have those issues, guys, here, okay? So I'm going to go back over to the timing, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what the timing is going to be across the area here. So, Lori, correct. Yes, the warm air is going to come from the southwest. That is what's going to help transition us over to a cold rain. I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to get back to temperatures being normal, and we're talking about a cold rain and stuff like that, instead of having to deal with ice and snow and road conditions being a nightmare and all that. I'm ready to get things back to normal. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get back to normal. So let me see here. Let me go over this real quickly here. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna know about tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty important day in terms of breaking down everything and everything like that. We know a good idea right now. Right now, we have a pretty good idea on this is going to be an ice event for western, northwestern Arkansas. The question is this going to include central? Is it include western? Is it going to include south Arkansas? Or are you guys going to be a primary or cold rain? And it's all said and done. So that's something that we're trying to monitor right now here. Western Arkansas, northwestern Arkansas, you are solid. You're good to go across the board. But at this point, we're monitoring those along I-30, on the I-40 corridor in eastern Arkansas, just to see if we end up adding you guys to this or not. But western, northwestern Arkansas, you're pretty much a lock in terms of seeing the ice potential across the state here. Yeah, Sarah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, with all this winter weather, but yeah, I'm done. I am done. I completely agree. Let's get this out of here. Let's go back to cold rain and get this out of control so we can go back to being normal across the area. Confused on why Fayetteville's under the watch, but Benton County's not. This is not up to us. That's National Weather Service in Tulsa. They control the watches and the warnings. We just report it. That's all we do here. So, yeah, if you can, invest in a generator. If you know a buddy that has a generator across western Arkansas, get in contact with them just to be on the safe side. Let me see here. Jonesboro, right now, we've got you guys at a cold rain. I think you guys are going to be primarily a cold rain over there. It just depends right now, guys. I wish I had the ability to answer your specific questions in terms of the city and the county and who's going to see what and when it's going to happen at this particular second or hour. I wish I had that ability to do that, but unfortunately I don't. So right now, in terms of eastern Arkansas, the biggest thing that we have right now is, when do we switch over to a cold rain? Let's take a look at some model data real quick. I want to show you guys this. So let's go over to let's take the GFS, for example, okay? Let's go back and let's take this look. This is about 9 p.m. tomorrow night. So eastern Oklahoma, along the Red River, southeastern Kansas. You can see the freezing rain starting to break out over here. This is going into first thing Monday morning. This is why I say, for those that are on Interstate 49, along 40, down here in the western Arkansas, the higher elevations, you're going to have the ice potential as we get towards first thing Monday morning. This is going to result in school closures. The roadways are going to be a nightmare. I know a lot of people have got to get back to work. If you have to travel first thing Monday morning, I'm begging you guys. I'm absolutely begging you guys. And I hope you guys take this advice and keep it without it going one ear out to the next. I don't want to wake up Monday morning to 40 accidents across the board and hearing about all this pile-up stuff and people getting hurt and all that. I don't want to wake up to that Monday morning, guys. I want to wake up Monday morning hearing that travel is very slow, but people are taking their time on the roadways, getting to where they need to go, and then that's awesome. No need to go 100 miles per hour Monday morning, guys. I'm very concerned, especially along I-40, along Interstate 49. I'm worried there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to get to where they're going 80, 90 miles per hour, and it's going to result in a lot of accidents. I want you guys to be safe. Freezing rain, ice is a completely different beast compared to snow. Snow is a little bit easier to travel on versus freezing rain. Freezing rain, in some cases, you can't do it because there's ice, at least the road's pretty much ice covered. So make sure as you get towards Monday morning, if you're planning on getting out, if you have to get out, go to work, I understand, but don't go 90 miles per hour on the roadways, guys. I'd rather for y'all to be late than I'd rather for y'all to be late to not make it there at all. So this is 6 a.m. Monday morning. Let's take this out. So this is the GFS. This is 9 a.m. Monday morning. You can see Central Arkansas, you're already a cold rain. You switch over to a cold rain without even having to deal with the ice. That is why Central Arkansas right now is on the very edge of the ice potential, because there's some data that's wanting to transition us over to cold rain, and that's just the end of the story. So that's what ends up happening. You get to noon, higher elevation still dealing with ice. Along the Arkansas-Missouri border, still dealing with ice. But pretty much everybody by noon, if you go with the GFS, has completely switched over to a cold rain. And then Arkansas, we're done. By the time we get into 6 p.m. Monday night, we're just talking about basic rain and temperatures that are actually above freezing for once. So if you go with the GFS, this is probably the best case scenario. You deal with that little bit of ice Monday morning, easy on the travel. By the time you get into Monday night, it's just rain, and then we're good to go. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. That's one of the solutions that we'll keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the Euro for just a little bit. So this is the Euro solution. Let's go back and let's take it in time. So this is 9 p.m. tomorrow night. This is midnight Monday morning. This is 3 a.m. And let's get to 6. And you can see western Arkansas, higher elevations. There's your freezing rain. Have to watch the higher elevations for potential heavy freezing rain across the board. But you can see by the time we get into noon, our folks in Central Arkansas, once again, the timing, cold rain. You're not having to deal with ice. You're not having to deal with any travel issues. You just pretty much go into a cold rain, and that's it. So keep that in mind. You can see by the time we get into 6 p.m. on Monday, you're already done with the ice across the majority of the area, except for our folks along the Arkansas and Missouri border. And then by the time you get into Tuesday morning, everybody's pretty much done, and then we're good. And by the way, like I mentioned before, we are going to have to watch for that flooding potential. I want to show you guys this real fast before I jump back into the comments. This is the amount of rain that we have coming in as we get into the next 7 days. This is not frozen precipitation. This is regular rain. This is heavy rainfall coming in. We'll have this out probably once we get past Monday's ice event. But this is the rainfall that's coming in. And by the way, for our folks in southeastern Arkansas, this is very beneficial rainfall down here because you guys are still in an extreme drought. So this is something that we'll watch as we get into the next upcoming work week here, guys. But I wanted to address that at this point. So let's go over to the Canadian. Now the Canadian model, I'm going to stress this right now, is the outlier. It's that one model away from the others because it has a completely different solution versus the GFS, the Euro, the NAM, the HR. It has a completely different situation from those. So take this model with a grain of salt here, and also keep in mind that this is probably not going to even verify. But I want to show you guys this because this is also a possibility. So let's get into this. Is 6 p.m. tomorrow night. There's 9 p.m. Frozen precipitation, mainly freezing rain breaking out across southern Oklahoma along the Red River. This is mainly going to be freezing rain, by the way. There's probably questions in the comments about, are we going to see snow or is it going to be sleet or anything like that? No. This is primarily freezing rain. That's how it's going to be because we're too warm aloft to support any kind of snowfall here in Arkansas. So let's take this out. This is 3 a.m. Monday morning, northwestern Arkansas, freezing drizzle, some freezing rain up there. This is like I said, the most aggressive one that we've seen so far, but I can't throw it out because it's been consistent. If it was just a one model in and out deal, I would throw it out, but it's been consistent with this, so we'll watch it. But what it does is it breaks out freezing drizzle across northern Arkansas, central Arkansas, along I-30, heavy freezing rain for our folks over here from Mena to Waldron over towards Fort Smith to Fayetteville to Bentonville up here to Salem Springs. These areas up here and over here in western Arkansas deal with the heavy freezing rain. And then you can see what it does. You get into 9 o'clock and you're talking about heavy freezing rain across the majority of the state. This is probably the worst case scenario for Monday, because what would happen is temperatures will be still too cold to support cold rain, and you would deal with ice all day, which will lead to pretty much a crippling ice storm across the state. Fortunately for us, this is the only model that's saying that. It's the only one, and it's going to be an outlier. Until you get the others to kind of trend towards that direction, this one's going to be an outlier. It's going to be one that we'll have to watch, but it's probably not going to happen. So this is noon on Monday. This is a Canadian. Like I mentioned before, I don't buy this because this solution would only happen if the Arctic air was staying. It's leaving out. It's retreating. So we will see. We'll keep an eye on it. A lot of people are joining in right now. They see this. They're probably trying to freak out. Calm down a little bit, guys, okay? This is the Canadian model. This is an outlier. The trustiness right now is very, very low because it doesn't support the other data. Northwestern Arkansas, it's pretty much a lock that you guys are going to see ice as we get towards Monday morning. It's central Arkansas where I have the questions right now here. But what it eventually does, after pretty much all day of freezing rain, at 9 p.m. on Monday, we finally transition over to a cold rain. But the damage would be done at that point if you were to go with the Canadian model here. So I don't buy it right now. I think it's just it's not gonna verify because your Arctic air is leaving out instead of staying in place here. But when do we warm up? That's the one question I want to stress right now. When do we warm up? When do we transition over to rainfall here? So this is a pretty much good blend of all the model data and kind of thrown into a map. As you can see, this pretty much aligns with our accumulation map. Western Arkansas, the higher elevations, see almost 1/4 of an inch of ice. Central Arkansas, even this low amount will still cause issues here. Let's just be real, guys. It's going to cause issues here in Little Rock. So this is something that we'll watch pretty much along I-30, along 167, up to Searcy, up to Batesville. We'll have to watch that's up to Walnut Ridge up here. We'll keep an eye on it for our folks in Central Arkansas, but this is primarily, as it stands right now, going to be for our folks over here in Western Arkansas, Northwestern Arkansas, any higher elevations at this current time here, okay? So, looking at this, Eastern Arkansas, just watch later in the day. But pretty much Eastern Arkansas right now, I'm worried about you guys being pretty much a cold rain. I don't think you guys are going to see a lot of ice over there in Eastern Arkansas. I think this is going to be Western Arkansas. Also, Amy, I'm not giving several predictions at this point. I'm telling you guys about the scenarios. I'm breaking this down so that way you guys are prepared for any kind of scenarios that are thrown in place. Because this is ice. This is not snow. This is not sleet. This is freezing rain. And if these temperatures are a little bit overdone in terms of warming us up too fast, then we could potentially talk about more areas getting into the ice potential. So no, I'm not giving several predictions. I'm not doing all that. I'm telling you guys about the scenarios. I'm breaking it down bit by bit so you guys know what to expect as we get into the Monday time frame here, okay? So, Andy, great question. What is the possibility of evaporational cooling due to the low dew points on Monday? That is another concern that I have, and that draws back to what I had just mentioned, that if temperatures are overdone. Let's take, let me see here. I'm going to go back over to our graphic. And I'm going to put up the timing map because a lot of people's questions right now are probably just going to be timing. Let's go over to this here, Andy. And we're going to see if I can go over to, let's take a look at the NAM. I know it's going to be the 18s and the 0Z's coming out right now. But let's take a look at the NAM for just a little bit. And what I want to talk to you guys about, you guys have probably never heard this term before. And it's going to confuse pretty much probably 90% of the viewers that we have in here. But what Andy's talking about is what we call a wet bulb temperature. Basically, what that means, and we'll put this in layman's terms, is that precipitation falls as dew points are pretty much still pretty low. So what happens is kind of similar to what happened at 2 or 3 Fridays ago here in central Arkansas, where we had that wet snow. Temperatures were at 34, 35 degrees, and everybody was wondering how the world we're getting snow is above freezing. Well, that event, your dew points were in the 20s. So precipitation was falling. Basically, your dew points start to rise and your temperature falls as your dew point climbs up. So let's say your temperature is 30 degrees, you have a dew point of 19. Precipitation starts falling. Your temperature will probably meet up somewhere probably about 25, 26 degrees. And what will happen is it will make your surface temperature 26 with precipitation falling, which results in ice. So what Andy means, basically, we have to watch and see how the dew points are first thing Monday morning. That's another thing we got to watch, because if what Andy's trying to throw out were to happen, you would basically mean that the Canadian model would be right. I don't want to say that the Canadian model is going to be right and get everybody hyped up about the ice storm potential, and it doesn't happen. But those dew points will have to be watched as we get towards Monday morning. That's a really, really solid comment, Andy. So, which map would be basically the worst case scenario would be what Andy just talked about. It's going to be the Canadian model. That's where you're going to have everybody seeing freezing rain all day on Monday before transitioning over to cold rain Monday night. That's the worst case scenario. Really, there's not really a best case scenario, because northwestern Arkansas in either situation gets screwed because they still have ice potential over there. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on at this point. But yeah, let me see here. The last ball didn't support sleet at all in central Arkansas. We got lots. So yeah, I do agree. Like I mentioned before, we'll watch it, but it's the only model suggesting that right now. So I can't forecast off of that, because it would get everybody up and thinking that we're going to have an ice storm across the majority of the state, and then it won't happen, and you start dealing with a lot of pretty much frustrated people. So that's something that we'll watch, but right now I don't expect it to verify at this point, but we'll see. Are we looking at the flash flooding later in the week with the rain coming in? Andrew, yes. We've got about 3 to 4 inches of rainfall coming in. Some locally higher amounts will be possible. We'll talk more about that once we get past the ice event on Monday here, okay? So let me see here. Will you make sure on YouTube we can rewatch? Yeah, Ashley, thank you for that, but yeah, we'll make sure. I'm pretty sure you can still go back and rewatch it on YouTube, but something may have happened with the last live stream, so we'll make sure that's the case here, okay? So let me see here. So what could cause the warm air to delay? This goes back to Andy's comment. Dew points. Dew points being that low. Temperatures, the dew points in the upper teens, low 20s, because you still have the Arctic air in place. I'm trying to make this pretty much easy for everybody to understand, because it can get very complicated once you start talking about this more and more. Basically, with Arctic air comes dry air. You have dry air in place initially. Precipitation starts falling. Your atmosphere starts to moisten up. Basically, when that happens, your temperature falls as your environment starts to moisten up. That happened with the snow event 2 or 3 Fridays ago at the beginning of the month. So what happens then is that temperatures will fall below freezing, and then that's where you get the ice potential. We will watch it closely. Right now, I don't buy the Canadian model. I feel like it's too aggressive, but I can't throw it out either. So we'll see. But what could cause the warmer delay is that the cold air remains here just long enough for you to get freezing rain all day. Regardless of what happens, I want to make this clear to everybody that's listening to me. I've got about 500 people in here. This is not going to be a prolonged event. This is not going to be you're going to be in the house for 4 days and all that. Everybody's going to warm up. This is just a Monday, during the day on Monday night, everybody's going to be above freezing. So I want to make that clear at this point. This is going to switch over to rainfall as we get towards Monday night into that Tuesday time frame here. I want to make that clear. This is not going to be a prolonged event. This is just going to be from Monday morning and a Monday afternoon. Everybody should switch over to a cold rain by the time we get into that Tuesday time frame here. Okay, so let me see here. We'll go over a few more questions here, and I think this was pretty much wrap everything up here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. And like I said, I'll be back live tomorrow night for those that may have missed it. Let me see here. Let me go over that real quickly here. Okay, so I don't know why people will be frustrated about not seeing ice. Ice is the worst. You can somewhat drive on snow, yes. And the thing is about snow, we still had a lot of problems. We still had accidents. We still had road conditions that were a complete nightmare. You still had issues with snow. Now you're talking about freezing rain. Freezing rain is just going to make things even worse from there. So that's why we're stressing you guys right now that if you're getting out Monday morning, I'm begging you guys. All 500 people that's listening right now, I'm begging y'all. Don't go 100 miles per hour on the roadways. It's not going to end well. You're not going to. Basically, the roadways are going to look clear, but ice is pretty much something that you're not going to be able to see on the roadways because it's so transparent. You're not going to be able to see it, and by the time you do see it, you hit it, it's going to be too late. So keep that in mind with ice. Ice is a completely different beast than snow and sleet and everything we've seen so far here. You don't want to tangle with ice. Ice don't end well for us here in Arkansas. So I think that's pretty much it with all the questions here, guys. Tuning in late, great question, Morgan. Yes, the rain will wash away all this ice and everything that's on the roadways. We're gonna be done. We're gonna be done by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm ready to get past this winter weather stuff here. I'm ready to get back to normal with temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Talking about regular rain, not talking about road conditions all the time and all that. I'm ready to get back to normal. So let me see here. Are we done with winter weather at this system for the next couple of weeks? Yes. Obviously in February, we'll watch and see what happens. But at least for the next couple of weeks, yeah, we're going to be done with winter weather after this event. So let me see here. Yeah, we still have snow on the back roads. That's what I was stressing earlier. Let me see here. I can stay in. Looks like I can watch a couple of movies, take a nap, and it'll all be over. That's a great thing to do on Monday. If you don't want to have to get out Monday morning or during the day on Monday, Monday's going to be a really good day to kind of relax. Tuesday, everything should be pretty much good to go in terms of travel here. So all of these graphics are going to be on the page. Just keep that in mind. Outside of that, I think we're going to be good. Howard County to Hot Springs Monday morning. Travel is going to be probably a nightmare. Going from Howard County over to Hot Springs is pretty much going to be a nightmare in terms of travel. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I mentioned before, I'll have another live stream tomorrow night. We'll probably have ice storm warnings by then. So we'll talk more about that. We'll have a better idea in terms of who's going to see what and everything. But I want you guys to kind of look at this map right now. From I-30, that 167 area points west and northwest. That is where we're going to see the potential of the ice as we get towards Monday morning. Further to the east, over across Jonesboro to Blytheville, down to El Dorado. Right now, it's a big question mark, but we'll keep an eye on it, guys. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Yes, we will be live as we get towards tomorrow. You don't have to worry about it. We'll be back here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. But yeah, I am ready to get past this winter weather. I'm ready to get back to the 50s and 60s, and I'm ready to get back to us talking about the rain here. So yeah, the cold rain will melt to ice by the time we get towards Tuesday. Everybody's going to warm up, and then we're going to be good to go here. Okay, so that is all I got for you guys this evening. Like I mentioned before, we're going to have another live stream 7 o'clock. You didn't miss the graphics, by the way. We're going to have this posted on the page here in just a little bit. But I am going to get a county map out before we post the rain and the graphics because I want everybody to know where their counties are here, okay? So that is all I got for you guys this evening. We'll continue to keep you guys updated right here, your source for all things Arkansas weather.